Hi everyone, welcome to Cap at Home. My name is Miss Melanie and I am going to show you today how to make chunky paper bead jewelry out of things you can find at home. I'm going to focus today on cardboard, so anything like a box that you have that you received in the mail, or if you don't have a box, you can use a cereal box. You can use a mac and cheese box. You could even use the cardboard from toilet paper rolls, any kind of heavyweight paper. If you don't have any of that, you could use a construction paper and maybe you just glue a couple pieces together. The goal is to have something that has a thickness to it so that when we roll it, it becomes really chunky. The goal is chunky. So some of the materials you're going to need today, other than the cardboard, are a good pair of scissors, because the cardboard is not the easiest to cut. You're going to need some glue. You use white Elmer's glue or any kind of white glue. I also use Mod Podge sometimes, because if you want to give your bead a little bit of a shine, you could do that. You could use a wood glue. If you don't have glue, you could make a homemade glue out of flour and water, 1-to-1 ratio. Mix it however it feels right. If you're making homemade glue though, just use a little bit, because otherwise it will take a really long time to dry. So you also need a pencil or some kind of marking tool, some yarn or string. Try to find like a nice fun color. This is going to be the end goal. And then something to make color, basically to make your design. So that could be markers, paint pens. You could use crayons, colored pencils. You can even use little pieces of paper and cut them up and glue them on. So anything that you have around the house, the goal is that this is something that's really easy that you can just use. You don't need to buy materials. You can just use what you have around. Also, oh yeah, aluminum foil. This is where I bring in a little bit of shine. It has that metallic edge and it just brightens up the cardboard and the paint. It's a nice contrast. So first things first, these are some examples of things, of shapes and sizes that you can make for the beads and the tassels. I've used a bunch of different materials. This one has paint and some of the aluminum foil. And I'm going to show you today how to make beads and the tassels, and then you can make a bunch of them and just string them together however you like. So first, I like to make sure that I create my workspace so that I'm not, especially if you're painting and gluing, that it'll help keep your other surfaces clean. So set up a specified workspace, put down a piece of paper or a piece of cardboard. Since we're using cardboard, it'll be a lot easier. The next thing I want to do is that there's two ways of doing this. You can create your shapes first and then apply your pattern or your design, or you can create an overall design and then cut your shapes out. And I like to do it this way because it allows a little bit more randomness, so our surprise is not as controlled. It's magic. So when you cut out your shapes, it's just a little element of surprise. So I will show you a couple different styles of how you can create patterns and apply color. And the first one I'm gonna do with markers. You could again use colored pencils or crayons, even paint if you want. The markers are quick and easy and they dry. If you don't like the way, so if you just use the markers directly on the cardboard, you're gonna get something that's like the colors will be a little muted or low saturation. If you like that, I think it's But if you want a higher contrast, you can do on white paper first and then glue onto the cardboard. This is just with the markers. If you're using paint, then the coverage is fine. So this is one technique that I've found that I really like to do that's really simple. I'm just select about 10 colors and I create I'm doing like just a linear pattern. So just do a line. And then, make sure I can see that. I do the first 3. And then I start to, this helps to create a pattern that's not just one by one color after another. It helps to create a repeat, but it's not necessarily, it's a little more random, I would say. So then I'll do one more. And then I add on both sides. And what I love about this is how the color looks so different when it's next to other colors. It's amazing how color can change just relative to other colors. And I'm only going to do one there. I'm going to do both sides there. So this is just one technique. Oh, almost did both sides. You can do any design that you want. But what this does is in the end, it has some, kind of like this stripy effect. Here's one that's just done on white paper. I don't know, it's also, it's a little bit of a surprise because once we cut out the triangles, you know, the placement and everything, it's just a little unique. So this is just the stripes. Now I'm going to show you how to do a pattern with paint, and I like to use paint pens. If you have paints in tubes, then you can put on a palette or on a plate and use a brush. You could also, similar to a paint pen, take a sponge, an old sponge, and dip it into the paint, and just it's so fast, which is what I love. So it's just like quick coverage. This project is really about like making a bunch. So if you're not working quickly, then it's going to take a long time. If you want to waste a whole day doing this, not waste obviously, but if you want to spend a whole day doing this, it's a perfect project. So I'm creating a design here. I am going to use a brush. I'm going to make some polka dots. I've got some yellow in here. This is another little tip. Like if you save these are little creamers for coffee. They're really great for glues and paints. Really easy cleanup. Just going to create a polka dotted design. I like polka dots. Okay, that's it for that one. And again, you can do any design there that you want. I'm just showing you a technique with paint. And then on this side, I want to show you, if you don't have paints or markers or anything, but you do have paper and glue, then you can do like a little paper collage. Just grabbing a couple different colors. I have a little color story going on here. Let's stick with it. Do we want yellow? Yes, we want yellow. All right. So just cut your colors. You could do any kinds of shapes here too. You could do, you know, squares, triangles, whatever. So I'm just gonna add a couple stripes, and this is when I like to use the Mod Podge, because Mod Podge can be both glue and sealant. So it will seal the paper. It also gives, depending on what Mod Podge you're using, either a matte or a gloss finish. Just changes the texture, the look of it. I like to keep a little bit of the cardboard showing because it has a sense of materiality. Can you hear the rain? It's raining in Michigan, wherever you are. Here it's raining. Okay. All right, so those are 3 examples. You can trim this off when it dries. This is with marker, paper, paint. So because the marker is already dry, I'm gonna go ahead and show my example how to do the first bead. So this is kind of the idea, the shape that we wanna get. And you don't need a ruler to measure this out. We are gonna be making little triangles to get this shape. I have this little kind of like a cheater block. I just cut it the width of the bead, so how wide I want the bead, and then, you know, I give myself like a little inch up, because when we roll it onto the pencil, you want it to go all the way around the pencil so that you don't have little edges hanging off like this. It's okay if you like that, but I think it looks nicer if it doesn't. It's more clean like this. So I have my little cheater rectangle, and I'm gonna lay it down in my design and just mark end to end. I'm gonna go to the other side and do the same thing. All right, then I'm gonna fold this in half and use this as a guide. So this helps me find my midpoint, because we're making a triangle with equal sides. And then again, if you don't have a ruler, it's fine. Just find a straight edge on a piece of paper or a piece of cardboard and draw. Actually gonna go over this with a marker so that you can see it. I'm not being precious about this. It's supposed to be fun. It doesn't have to be exactly perfect. Your lines don't have to be exactly perfect. All right, so now we have a little triangle. Now take your pencil and roll the triangle around the pencil. Like that. Take a little bit of glue. And then you can just hold it for a few seconds until the glue sets a little bit, or you can take a rubber band and tie it around there so you can move on to the next one. Okay, so the next thing I want to show you is how to make a tassel. And for the tassels, we want to have a rectangular shape. Now, this is how it could look in the end. So this is about how long that is. We want it to, so if measure, this is the way to measure the length of it. Depending on how many tassels you want is how wide you make this area. Okay, so you want to mark from this top. You can use this little cheater that you made and just mark a stopping point, a stopping line. Okay, stopping line. Right, and you're gonna cut little lines. You don't have to measure them, but if you want, with the cardboard, it actually has little lines in there for the corrugation. Corrugated. And just use those as a guide. Right, and then you have this, and then before you actually start to roll this, you want to make a little loop, okay? So I just use a little piece of the spare section and cut a little piece like this. And then take some of your glue, put it on the end, place it here on the end. This is going to create a little loop so we can actually hang it. Like that. And then unlike the bead, you don't need to use the pencil to roll it. You can just roll it by hand. You actually want it to be kind of tight in there. Okay. Go ahead and just glue the end. Again, you can hold it down until the glue sets, or if you want, go ahead and rubber band it together. Okay, so once you have a bunch of these made, so I've made, oh, actually, let me show you. This is my favorite thing. Why did I? Aluminum foil. So this is recycled. So whenever you use aluminum foil, you can save it, wash it, dry it, save it, put it in your craft file, and it's really fun to add a little bit of metallic to your projects. needs a little bit more glue. And the thing I like about the aluminum is that it actually picks up some of the texture of the cardboard. And you could do it, if you do it sideways, even more so. So I'm gonna make one from this, a bead from this. Show you this process again. Okay, and then using your little cheater rectangle, I'll do this in marker so you can see it well. Folding it in half. And again, just cutting up. Remember I told you that you could cut like a little, like an inch up, because otherwise you'll get like this kind of edge. If you want it to be more straight like this, then just trim off a little bit like that. It looks almost like a house. Okay. When you're making these, you can obviously do a ton at a time. So you could create a template like this, or draw on the back of your piece of paper and create a bunch at the same time. And I love the aluminum foil, it's so fun. And you're recycling, or upcycling. Isn't that cool? Okay, glue. And you see how this top is a little flatter? It's because I made that cut, those two cuts on the end. Okay, so now that we have some beads made, ideally you want to have all your beads done. Clean up before we start the next step. So make sure all of your larger pieces are off to the side. You can use that for another day. Your smaller pieces, depending how small, you could also save those for another project. Little tiny scraps like this could be, even small ones like this could be designs for another day. Collage onto some more beads or another project. So make sure you clean up your space, put all your brushes into water, cap all your markers, all your paints, and then I'm going to go ahead and flip this over to a nice clean side of my cardboard, and I'm going to take some beads that I've already made and show you how to string this. So starting with the tassel. And you can decide how long you want this string. Now for this one, I go in to make this so that you have this going horizontally. Take the string and go in one side. And then this is much easier when you don't have glue on your fingers. So it's probably good to wash your hands as well before you start this process. A thorough cleanup. Okay. And then from there you can add other beads down the side. These are just random beads that I made. Maybe wouldn't necessarily put them together, but I'm just showing you the process. Actually, I'm gonna use this one we made today. It's much better. Just color-wise. The palettes. Okay. Then you can just tie it, add it to your collection, around your neck, your wrist, and your hair. Okay. I hope you enjoyed this. Some comments in the comment section and let us know if you like this, if you make some jewelry, please, and upload it to the CAP page. Thanks so much.